as Brian said, I wanted to bring this home to Massachusetts. I just have to explain a little bit before I ask my question. The rhetoric of genocide in China and its human rights violations are being fomented by US Representative Seth Moulton in our state of Massachusetts, as he, along with other forces, has pressured Tufts University to close its Confucius Institute, a program using professors from China to teach the Mandarin language and culture of China. Groups like the Tibetan Association of Boston, Students for a Free Tibet, Hong Kongers, Taiwanese, have all protested the Confucius Institute because of the repression and genocide they say exists in China. And this rhetoric comes at a time when Asian Americans have been targeted and massacred in the United States out of hate and ignorance. So the US, led by Seth Moulton, the Pentagon, the right American politicians like Rubio and Cruz, and undoubtedly the CIA, which I've learned by reading Max's stuff, you always got to be on the lookout for them, is promoting racism, which has rightfully been designated as a public health crisis. This cultural program, funded by the government of China, is being distorted by perpetuating fear that the Chinese Communist Party poses a threat to colleges and our country. The opposite is true. The US poses the threat to colleges and country. What can we do?
I would give Zhun the floor here, but just quickly, you know, it's interesting that the allegation about genocide is being weaponized to do away with the Confucius Institutes, which have been a target since well before, and were explicitly targeted by Mike Pompeo. And then there was this media blitz about them being used to penetrate US universities, casting all Chinese students and those who were participants in Confucius Institute programs, which are aimed at cooperation and really promoting diplomacy, casting them all as Chinese agents. It's a way of holding Chinese nationals collectively responsible for policies their government is accused of enacting. And Seth Moulton is one of those militaristic Democrats who also was extremely active in promoting the Russiagate narrative, which was really, as the late Stephen F. Cohen called it, it was intelligence gate, and it was aimed at criminalizing diplomacy with Russia. So these are, you know, I see these, I'm not saying they're acts of war on China. I just see them as acts of war in that it's part of a wider war, a hybrid war that may not, we have to hope, will not rise to the level of conventional war, but it's taking place in our communities right before our eyes. And the key actors in it are militarists and weaponized right-wing exiles whose communities have been cultivated and warped by the US intelligence services over decades. So it's a real tragedy to see this happening. And I think we should brace ourselves for more of the kinds of racist acts that we've seen in recent days.
Yeah, I agree with Max. It's really sad to see that different institutions have closed as Confucius Institutes. I don't know if the people who hate this institute so much have ever been to those places. It's you know, it's I would say it requires some certain amount of imagination to connect them to, you know, a spy institution. And Max mentioned the claim that all Chinese students or scholars are potential spies for the Chinese state. Obviously, that reinforces the idea of the stereotype, the racist attitude that the Chinese people are the same. We all somehow are controlled by the Chinese state government, and you know, we would I guess do harmful things to the United States any time possible. And I think definitely they all contribute to the anti-Chinese Asian violence that we're seeing, because you are the enemy, and every one of you. You don't have to need to tell, because all of you are potential spies, agents, all the bad people. So it is unfortunate that we have got to this stage. As Max said, I surely do not hope this would rise to a conventional war. But even if we stay at the current level, it's already sufficiently toxic. It's so harmful to many people, not just the Asian population here, but anyone that wants to live in a society that still makes sense. So that's unfortunate, I think.